Hello, Whovians, and welcome to my latest Doctor Who review, where today I review The Image of the Fendahl. Okay, The Image of the Fendahl. This is the third story of season 15 of Doctor Who, Tom Baker's fourth season, and the basic plot is as follows. The present day. Just as the Fourth Doctor and Leela arrive in Fetchborough, England, Professor Fendelman prepares to experiment on a fossilized skull which science says should not exist. The skull is actually an artifact of the Fendahl, a godlike being who feeds on the life force of others. It has begun to awaken and kill. Worse yet, others seek to exploit the Fendahl's dreadful power. There we go, that's the plot of Image of the Fendahl. Okay, Image of the Fendahl. In my opinion, this is a very disappointing Doctor Who story. Basically, to sum it up in not even one word, my problem with this story is as follows. Yeah, this story is boring. And it really saddens me to have to say that, because there are some good ideas in this story, and I mean, I suppose there's a kind of a vibe of like the demons about this story, with the skull being kind of like a symbol of the Fendahl god. So there's kind of that aspect to the story, which comes in later on. But to me, the story just takes way too long to get going. And this is only a 4-part story, and it feels longer. It really does. It drags for pretty much the entirety of the story. I just could not get into it. I just really couldn't get into it. What's worse is the fact that the Doctor and Leela don't do anything in this story. Well, not until the second half of the story. In the first half of the story, the first 2 episodes, they don't do anything. They kind of just wander around and end up finally meeting the supporting casts. But they don't have any major involvement until like part 3 or like the end of part 2, and I really just found this story to be slow. It really is slow, and there isn't really much of a story either. Like, I didn't care about this Professor Fendelman and his crew who are trying to discover the source of this skull, and then they discover it's an alien skull, and it just there wasn't much there really, and also the villain of the story, Max, or Maximilian Stahl, but they call him Max. Max is, I don't get his motivations. I mean, okay, maybe I've missed something. If someone comments down below and lets me know, that's fine, but I just didn't understand what his motivations were. And to be honest, like, what was it? Money? Did he want money, or did he just want power? He just wanted to be a god. I think that's what it was. He just wanted to be a god, and it just comes out of nowhere. It's just a very bizarre change of character. I mean, unless I missed something, but I don't think I did. And I mean, you'd think at first that the story begins with some kind of suspense, because it starts out with the discovery of a dead body, which is interesting. But then the story just sags on, and it just never gets going for me. I mean, I don't even think the sets are really that impressive. I mean, they're in this sort of manor house type place, or this lab. I mean, it looks alright. It looks alright for what the story requires, but really, this story is dull and boring, and I'm never going to watch this one again. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that it's a complete disaster, but it's not very good. I mean, the supporting cast are good. I like the supporting cast. You have Wanda Vetham as Thea Ransom. She actually gets possessed by the skull at one point, which is interesting. Again, there's so much hypnosis and people being possessed in the classic era of Doctor Who. It's becoming very repetitive now. But, you know, she's a decent character for what she is. And Dr. Fendelman himself, played by Dennis Lill, he's good. I like his character. He is actually initially kind of thought to be a villain at first. I mean, with the way he acts in the first part of the story, I was assuming he was going to be the villain, but no, they had Max be the villain. Yeah, I mean, because Dr. Fendelman is a German doctor, or at least to me, he sounds like he has a German accent, so I assumed they were going to make him the villain. But no. The other guy, Adam Colby, played by Edward Arthur, he's decent. I mean, they don't have a lot of depth, these characters, but they're fun to watch, I suppose. The other characters I have to mention are David Mitchell, who's a policeman. He doesn't feature in the story that long. But his cameo is nice. And you've got Martha Tyler, who's the old lady, and then her grandson, Jack Tyler. I think he's her grandson anyway. And yeah, they're good characters, and they feature well in the story. Also, the Fendaline creatures, the Fendahl creatures, whatever they are, they look like it reminded me of Primeval, that episode of Primeval with the giant worms. It kind of reminded me of that. They almost looked kind of like worms or caterpillars, and they could like suck your face off. I mean, they looked kind of cool. I like the design of those. They look nice, but to me, by the time we got to the fourth part of the story, I was already fed up of the story. I was just bored of it, and the climax did nothing for me. In the end, the house blows up. I mean, how many times have we seen something blow up? You know, there's just not much originality with this story. It's just very forgettable, very dull. There is not much interest. There's not a lot of interesting things here. I mean, K9 is wasted in the story. I think it would have been nice to have K9 actually in the story more. I know the reason why they didn't have him as much is because the prop was awkward to use, but come on. If you want to maintain the quality of the show, sometimes you have to do things that might require a bit more difficulty and some things that might be a bit frustrating, but if it benefits for the audience's experience, then do it. So K9, he's in the story. He features at the beginning and at the end, but he doesn't even have a line, you know, which is a real shame. But oh well, I know we're going to see more of K9, so I'm not too worried about it at the moment. But I guess the only other thing to say is Tom Baker as the Doctor. He's good when he gets stuff to do. He's very good. And Leela, played by Louise Jameson, she's good. I like her in this story. They're both very good, but really the story has nothing standing out. It's a real disappointment after the previous two stories. The script is very poor. It's very unoriginal. There's not a lot in here. There's a couple of good visual ideas, and you know, but we've seen this kind of thing before. I mean, it was written by Chris Boucher, who's written a few stories recently, but yeah, not the best script as far as I'm concerned. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was awful. I didn't think it was like god awful, but it was pretty bad. I just found it so boring. I mean, some of the artistry of the costumes is nice, I suppose, when we get to part 4 and we see the big kind of, I don't know if you could call it a ritual, but we'll call it the climax. When we get to the climax of the story and we see a bit more colourful costumes and everything, I mean, that's nice. I'll give it that. But the script is poor. The acting is good. I'll give it that. The direction by George Spenton Foster, it's not the best. It's just, it could be tighter. It's just the pacing drags throughout the entire story. It ends like that when they just blow up the house, and yeah, I find it very uncompelling, to be honest. So I don't have a lot to say about it, to be quite honest. But if you like this story, that's fine. I'd love to hear your opinions down below. But please respect my opinion. It's just, in my personal opinion, this is not a very good story. So with that being said, I think I will rate this story. I will give it a 4 out of 10. Yeah, it's not awful. It's not like a total disaster, but I consider it to be a bad story. It's probably my least favourite Tom Baker story so far, and that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. I mean, some of the effects, I suppose, are quite good. I'll give it that, but yeah, there's not a lot in this story to really say or to really talk about. There's just nothing here. It's a nothing story. I literally feel nothing for this story. I neither like it, nor do I hate it. I nothing it. And that's a bizarre statement in itself. But okay, next time we move on to The Sunmakers, which is my friend Alan Kalo's favourite Tom Baker story, so that should be interesting. So I look forward to that one, and sorry, but you know, not every review can be positive. That's just the way it is. But if you like this story, tell me why down below. I'd love to have a discussion going. So until next time, thank you very much all for watching, and stay tuned for my review of The Sunmakers. Until then, I'm Mr. Thomas11. See ya.